Lifestyle Podcast.
The business behind the headlines.
All right, so welcome everyone. Today we have the pleasure of having James Duke with us. Hi James, how are you? All good?
Nice to see you guys.
Thank you for having us.
So James is project executive at Ascend Construction Group, and he's building a student housing development here in Sweetwater. So we're really pleased to have him because he's gonna share insights about the real estate market. He has a lot of experience, so let's ask him some questions. James, you were raised here in Miami, or where did you grow up?
I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right, nice. And how long have you been here for?
I came to South Florida in 2001, actually April 2001.
Wow.
After establishing significant experience and relationship with a general contractor out of South Florida, out of Miami.
Right.
I decided, I kept building that relationship, and after about 8-9 years, I called upon this person and asked them if they had an opportunity, and at the time they were looking.
Nice.
I walked right into an opportunity. I've been here pretty much
Ever since.
90% of my time.
Wow, so basically you were already in construction and general contracting before in Alabama, and then you moved to Miami. So I mean, I would be curious to know, like, how has your career evolved with that transition? Like, what's different, or what did you feel? Is there any big differences? Or
It's a huge difference. In Birmingham, things are pretty much cut and dry.
Right.
The markets are either office, civil work, or retail. You don't see a lot of condo development. You don't see huge multifamily apartment type projects, market rate projects. When I came from Alabama to here, it was like night and day.
Yeah.
It's funny, I moved to downtown Miami in 2001, and the skyline that you guys see today is not the skyline that I saw when I moved in April 2001. So the market is truly a vertical market here, more so than Alabama is more horizontal. Like I said, we built a lot of highways, wastewater treatment plant, a lot of underground horizontal work. But when I came here and I saw all the buildings going up vertical, I realized I was going to be here for a very long time. So
amazing.
2001 to now has been quite a road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that here the development is mostly horizontal because because we have a huge population growth every year. So I guess compared to where you were before, it makes a huge difference for you and to get involved into buildings and.
Yeah, very, very different market here, man. Like I said, it's when you look at the number of developers coming into South Florida, it really it makes your ears kind of tingle a little bit, because you know that once you start in the markets down here, you'll be here for a long time, because the markets continue to evolve year after year. Something new comes onto the scene. Something old falls off.
True.
So I think this is going to be a market that is going to grow and evolve probably faster than New York City. I think it will become like a small San Francisco. That's what I kind of compare it to, because like I said, in 20 years, downtown South Florida, downtown Miami, to look at what it's evolved and become, it's amazing. 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years.
What was your vision? Like when you came in 2001, you probably saw something that was like not as flat. There was more flat. There was no skyscrapers or anything like that. Now you're seeing huge towers coming in to downtown. Like, what was your vision back then? Because right now it's easy to see that Miami is going to keep growing and everything is going very vertical. But maybe 25 years ago when you arrived, it's not so easy to have that vision, because we know Miami's real boom was 2020. That was like a crazy spike in the prices. So now it's easy for everyone to see that we're in a good market. But back then, what was like the vision like overall?
I will tell you that in 2001, the focus was, and I remember this like yesterday, focus was the expansion of Miami International Airport.
Okay.
Because at that time, Atlanta Hartsfield had just had a major expansion of their completion of the expansion of their airport. And I think at that time, Miami International rolled out a $500 million expansion to their airport. When they did that, you knew it was only a matter of time with that expansion. It was going to start attracting a lot of international investors.
Right.
A lot of domestic interest was going to come out of places like New York and Chicago. And so hats off to the city of Miami for having that vision, Miami-Dade County for having that vision, because it opened up the floodgates for so many opportunities. That happened around 2002, 2003,
Okay. So,
because I was actually working at the Miami International Airport for a large mechanical / general contractor at the airport. And they were expanding almost yearly, they were expanding. So I think Miami International is slated for another expansion that's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah, so basically now Miami is growing and everything, but we see growth pushing north towards Broward County and even further. And I think you've done a lot of work over there as well. Like, what's your opinion about like the difference between, let's say, Miami-Dade County and Broward County? Do you think there's more opportunities to build new things around Broward County right now because it's still expanding more, and Miami might be more stabilized? What's your opinion on that kind of thing? Because I know you've built some things over there as well.
That's a good question, because I've had the opportunity to work pretty much in the Tri-County area. I think that moving north, Broward County will always be a valuable option for development. Boca Raton is where I believe it's really going to take off.
Right.
Boca has the airport, the executive airport. They are attracting a lot of high net worth individuals there. There's an expansion. I think BH Group and PEB Enterprises formed a joint venture to redevelop the Office Depot off of Glades Road. PEB Enterprises is very established and successful developer that is also doing, I think, another project on Glades Road that is just north of the Boca Town Center. So it's a lot of development there. It's a little bit different than down here. They don't build towers to the heavens like we do down here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But they build quality development, and they are attracting a lot of international buyers. But it's a different type of international buyers. I think they get a lot more from Europe than we do down here in Miami.
There's less like short-term tourism, maybe. It's like more people that are trying to move there rather than like short-term rentals and all of that.
I think so. I think they get stable. Yeah. They have a stable development, whereas down here in Miami, it's an investment, and it may be seasonal type of investment, but I think Boca is going to be the next hotbed for development, not only to the east of US 1, but to the west, because it's still, to me, middle class homes that are single family homes. It's still a very good market, an affordable market for working class people to live in a great city. It's safe, great schools. So that's been very attractive for that area. I think going further north, West Palm Beach is still a very stable market. And you're starting to see, what's his name, Stephen Ross, with related companies. I think he's taken off a few projects up there. Very solid company. And so West Palm is going to be, I think they are the next vertical market that's looking pretty hot. But the one that I think everybody's kind of sleeping on is Stewart to Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
I think with the influx of South Floridians who are working class, who want to find affordable houses to raise a family in good schools and so forth, in a more quieter environment, that's pushing development even further north.
Yeah.
So if we can solve the problem with mass transit to where we have more frequency of stops along that I-95 corridor, I think we'll be involved in development for a very long time.
And what do you think about maybe public transportation? Because you're talking about big corridors of highways and I-95, which are very important, but at the end of the day, they can only take so many people, the I-95. And we know the Bright Line came, but it's been a huge investment, but the return is not that big, and they're not making a lot of money. So it's tough for them to make ends meet. And you that's lived here for the past 25 years, I don't know if you've been a user of the Bright Line or any type of public transportation here, because that could also really help, like transit from up north down to Miami in good times, like
because if not,
short
it's
times.
like a nightmare. Yeah.
Exactly, you would be stuck in traffic driving for an hour and a half if you're coming from Port St. Lucie or wherever. Whereas if you can take the train, you can have those hours made useful. Kind of, you're sitting and you're not driving. So, what do you think? Do you think there's a potential for public transport around the area to be more efficient and to have more public transportation corridors?
That is a tough question, and I'll tell you why it's a tough question. Whereas cities like New York, Chicago, seem like they focused on their infrastructure first before they built out their cities.
Yeah.
We built out our city,
Here it's
and
the
now we're
opposite,
focusing on infrastructure.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough because people are not giving up valuable real estate to put buses on the road. They're not giving up valuable real estate to run a train down the middle of US 1. It just won't happen. Because we're in the water table, going below ground and tunneling would be astronomical.
Yeah.
Not to say it can't happen. We built a tunnel, I think it was Swire Group built a tunnel from Biscayne Boulevard over to the port to allow the trucks to go through.
True.
But that project took about 10 years to do.
And it's just one tunnel.
So, and it's just one tunnel.
Yeah.
And it only went, maybe a mile.
Yeah, exactly.
So you think about that. That would be a huge network. That would be beyond your lifetime, definitely beyond my lifetime, for it to be completed. I don't see it happening. I think if we're smart, we would begin to move development to the west and have smart development to the west and kind of spread it out rather than concentrating everything in one location. But until we solve the issue of mass transportation, it's going to be a struggle for working class people to live here. It won't be a struggle for the wealthy.
True.
They don't drive. So they have someone drive them. So I think if we don't solve that problem, that can be the Achilles heel for real estate development here, especially for working class individuals.
Okay, so let's move on to more into the details of your projects.
Yes.
Because we've seen that you've done many projects around South Florida, and I want to start with maybe like one project that you're really proud of that was a tough project. I don't know exactly which one, but is there any that comes to mind that was like a really tough challenge, but at the end of the day, when you saw the project complete, you were like, wow, this was really worth it?
I think the toughest project that I ever worked on was back in 2007, was the Mint, M-I-N-T, at Riverfront. So if you're familiar with American Social, it's the high-rise building directly across from American Social.
In Brickell.
On
the river, right?
Yes. It's a 59-story high-rise. We I was working for Moss and Associates at that time. It was a 59-story high-rise building right there on the waterfront. And it was a very challenging project. It was on the, I would say, the eve of 2008 crisis, housing crisis. And the developer was one of the savviest developers. I won't call him by name, but the father who, they were out of Argentina. The father, I respect that guy so much. He was a tough, shrewd businessman. I think he's still around. His son's running the company today.
Right.
And to watch him, and this is what took me down the path of development, to watch that man go through one of the toughest financial crises. He was stressed, but he was also focused. Mm-hmm. And he sat us down at the table. He says, okay, the bank, I forget the name of the bank, I think it was either Compass Bank at the time. He says, okay, they are a very volatile bank right now.
Right.
Anything can happen. It's just a matter of time. We need to get this project to where it's complete. Mm-hmm. What can you do?
Substantial completion.
We needed to get to substantial completion. That man, he was older at the time. He managed that process from the time they got the news about what was happening with the banks to the time we were able to get it substantially completed. We had to bring the contractors in, talk about finances, what they could afford to pay for to finish the job. Everybody knew, everybody was affected. All the contractors knew. Yeah. So we just had to get to the end, and it was. And the smart thing about the company I worked for and the developer that we were working for is that everybody came together and realized it was a problem, and it was in everybody's best interest to work together. Mm-hmm. And that man managed that project, that chaos, from where we were at the height of it to the end, and that was probably the most rewarding project. And before everybody got laid off. Yeah. But it was the most rewarding thing. And I was able to grow a lot from that, to go through it and see how to manage it. Yeah, to manage it through something difficult like that. Because I can only imagine, it's $150 million construction.
Imagine the pressure.
Yeah, so our work was cut and dry. We were contractors. We had a set of plans. We had a start date and we had a finish date. That developer had a huge loan that was going on
personal guarantee.
Yeah, the pressure that he had to be under was just tremendous. So I wish I can call his name, but hats off to him.
Wow, yeah. So basically, it was an inspiration for you because you've done some development of your own. So maybe that's part of what inspired you to do it. Well,
and also, amazing. So thanks to this experience, I guess that now, because most of the people, most of the developers we talk to, they are scared of maybe a new crisis coming. But you, thanks to this experience, you can, now I guess you're less scared because you see that you can go through this. So it's always a way to get it completed. Mm-hmm. And then I guess this affects you less for the decision of buying a new land or of when you see a new opportunity. Sometimes you see it's too big if something comes that we cannot predict. Thanks to this experience, I guess now you're, when you're part of this team, you can bring this knowledge and be less scared of what can come and everything.
Be more pragmatic, basically.
Yeah, well,
because you know that you can get through of everything, and so
absolutely. You know, one of the things that that I've discussed in the past is that being prepared is your best ally.
Yeah.
You don't wait for things to happen in order to get prepared. One of the things, even the project that we're sitting at today, you always come into these projects with your eyes completely open. Some people focus on the numbers, but I like to focus on the what ifs.
Right.
What is the plan B? Because things in a market like this, things don't always go the way they look on the spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. Spreadsheets are assumptions about things that if they all go well, what could happen. I've been in situations with developers who I've worked for in the past where I have seen things evolve and know what's going to happen. And many of those guys were not from South Florida. And I was able to say, hey guys, I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen with this. That number, that cost per square foot is not a true number. But we got to build it. We got to build it. And yeah, you have to build it, but maybe right now it's not the market to build it in. And they move forward. And this one particular project, which I will not mention, is in its 10th year and it's still not finished.
Wow.
You know,
That's the IRR on that project is close to zero after 10 years, right?
yeah, it's more of a RRI than an IRR. So
right. Well, so basically with okay, wait, I had another question. It was about about the pricing, because you were talking about prices of construction and how you need to time it right for construction. You just said it, like sometimes it's not the right time because the prices are too high. Well, we're seeing right now, I mean, the last 3-4 years, I don't know exactly because I've been here for less than 3 years, but I know that prices have skyrocketed in construction and margins are a little bit tighter. Of course, the market is going up, which is nice, and you can still have good margins. But maybe compared to before, what do you think has changed? Do you think the margins are tighter, slimmer now, or they used to be slimmer?
things are starting to level off.
Okay.
There's still there's some volatility in the market, but things are doable. Projects are coming off the board now and they're moving forward. I know that for a fact. So being on the construction side, we know what's coming because we get the phone calls. When the market's dead, we're not getting phone calls. We're looking for work. So instead of work looking for us. Now, I want to speak on that for just a second because
Of course.
this is why you hire smart people. There's always a way to get things done. Yeah. So one of the first mentors I had was a guy by the name of Richie Michael Abraham, a part of the REDI Foundation. So I took that program as a mentee, and this guy was a very successful developer, and he was a no-nonsense developer. And he always told me, he's like, James, whatever you do, make sure the project is in demand and that it's doable.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of guys are bringing projects that may be in demand, not necessarily doable.
Right.
Because of the price point. Because you can price point yourself out of a successful project.
True.
But you can never price yourself out of a doable project. If it's doable, it'll work, right?
Right. I see.
So there are ways to get projects done. This table itself looks like it's wood, but it's a veneer. Looks like it's almost wood. So if you're smart, you get with the best architects, not just an architect to get your price done, but the best architects. The best architects are going to attract the best structural engineers and MEP engineers, the guys who are going to help you get to the finish line. So you solidify your team and you figure out how to get it done for the price points you need to get it done. Another thing that has to happen in order to get it done is that you have to manage that process. One of the things I noticed in South Florida is that we tend to get the best architects and engineers and we just turn them loose. Right. Say, go design me something.
Do whatever you want.
And the problem is they over-design it. And you end up with a project that can't be built. It looks beautiful on paper and it can't get built. And this is the fallacy of many projects. Your greatest friend as a developer is a contractor.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily hire that contractor to build your project, but jumping into a project as a developer who has never built anything from the ground up, and when I say build, I mean literally manage a project from start to finish, you're basically setting yourself up for failure if you don't have that general contractor involved in the process. Having that general contractor involved in the process in the beginning, they're going to tell you things that you need to know that you may not have budgeted in your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So there are ways to get these projects done, but if you think through all of the risks that's out there, FP&L, how do I get it to the site? Do I have adequacy for drainage structure? Will the city allow me to drain into their storm drainage into their system, or do I have to retain it? If I have to retain it on site, do I have the real estate in order to retain it on site? If I have 500 units, can my sanitary sewer system, can a sanitary sewer system handle the outflow of all of that sanitary water?
Yeah.
Or do I have to install a lift station to pump it from this point to this point? If I have to install that lift station, do I have the real estate to do it? Because remember, for every square footage of space on your site, on that parcel, that you cannot turn into revenue, it's costing you money,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Either it costs you money to put that lift station there, or it costs you money you put a tree there, and that you just paid, say, $200 a square foot for that. That's an expensive tree.
Sometimes this is for building, but sometimes we had the case a few days ago. Sometimes you have the possibility to build a bigger house, let's say, for example, but the market doesn't allow it, because if you build too big for this area, then you're gonna be out of the market. For buildings, I guess, you have to use as much as you can.
It also costs you to build that square footage of house, right? So at the end of the day, everything costs you, but the best use is usually to build like a living square footage, right? Because you're selling price per square foot, right? So, but you cannot overbuild sometimes because the market's not there for it, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen developers just trying to max the square footage for living without paying attention to what the market is saying, and maybe they overbuilt or maybe underbuilt? Have you seen this in your projects?
I've seen it, and I won't name the projects,
Right.
but because you have the square footage doesn't mean you should build it.
Right.
There's a project in North Miami, and the FAR under the Live Local Act will allow this contractor or developer to build to the heaven and back.
Yeah.
Can he lease it up? You go bankrupt doing that. So looking at the things like Live Local that allows us to trump some of the local zoning requirements to build a more elaborate structure, may not necessarily be what the market is asking for. Market may not be asking for 600,000 square foot of multifamily market rate. It may be asking for 300,000, may be asking for 200,000, may not be asking for 500 units, may be asking for 200 units.
Yeah.
What my mentor taught me was to do the marketing yourself, the market feasibility study yourself. One thing I can say right now, I don't care where I go in this country, I can sit down and within maybe you give me a few days, I can figure out the lay of the land and determine what the market demand is for that area. If it's multifamily, I'm going to tell you that the populations are growing. I'm going to tell you that the households are growing at a certain percentage rate. I'm going to tell you, I can look around and see if big box is moving in, because the big box is moving in. They are the telltale about families, because big box doesn't move into areas where families are not growing. I can tell you, I can look at an area really quick just because of the failures I've had in the past. I remember when I tried, and this is a funny story. I remember before getting involved in real estate development, I decided to go out and buy every book on real estate development. So I have a bookshelf at home. It's about as big as that shelf, a little bit taller.
Nice.
And it's filled with books on real estate development, from handbooks to earth movement to planning, everything. And I said I wanted to know something about every aspect of real estate development, from marketing to creating performance to understanding zoning. So I did all of that stuff. And I will tell you that in the course of chasing that information and learning for yourself,
Yeah.
you make a lot of mistakes, but once you get the training like we did at FIU and like I did at Nova, it all comes together. And when it comes together, you're able to think through issues a lot quicker than someone who just dropped in
Just
to the
knows one
program.
thing.
Yeah, so I self-taught I self-taught myself before I met my mentor, and then once I met my mentor, then everything came together.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to develop a project in Miami Gardens. So if you're familiar with Top Golf,
Yeah,
Of course, we know it very well.
so there it was a dilapidated building.
Just right next to
across,
it.
man.
yeah, so right across it. So one day I go in the garage, and I had it in my mind that I'm going to develop that building. Everybody says an eyesore. I'm going to figure out how to develop that building. So I put up this whiteboard in the garage, and I'm going through, and I said I needed to know who owns the property. So I traced the titles back to 1950s to the 1950s, and I found out it was a Jewish doctor who was one of the landowners. I think it was called Memorial Regional Hospital. So I looked onto the title and the warranty deed, and there were some conditions on there about that property. They could never, whoever they sold that property, they could never put a gas station there. They could never put like a car wash or any of those things there.
Wow.
So once I knew the ground I was playing with, I said, okay, these are the don'ts. The second thing I did, I went and set up a meeting with the city of Miami Gardens to find out what was going on with that building. So I found out that building had many liens, code violations, because it was dilapidated. It was considered, it was being considered an unsafe structure and so forth. So it was hung up in all kind of legal
battles and issues.
battles and so forth about that property. So the next thing I did, I said, okay, if I was going to build something at that location, what would the market want to see at that location? And I studied it, and I walked away with the fact that there was no 3 to 4 star hotel that was servicing the Miami Gardens football stadium, the Dolphin Stadium.
Oh, okay.
So I called Marriott to find out what was their development criteria. And I said, okay, once I started getting information, I started building. I said, man, if I do this, in order to attract Marriott, I got to do something about the land that's in front of Walmart. The land that's in front of Walmart is what Top Golf sits on. So I said, I got to think about outside the box. Miami Gardens is very much a residential neighborhood.
And IKEA is very close as well.
No, IKEA is a little bit further.
That's your other?
Yeah,
It's in Doral.
Okay.
it's in Doral.
Okay.
So I look at this area and I said, hey, what can I do to address this parcel? It had to be retail. I knew it had to be retail because it was a very heavily residential area and it did not have anything to address retail. So I knew I was on to something. So I called up Dave and Buster's and I called them up and I called up their real estate development team up in, I think they're in Memphis, Tennessee or Nashville, Tennessee. So I called them up and I sent them the picture, sent them what I wanted to do. And the guy goes on to Google and he looks at it. He says, okay, I like your idea. He said, but there's nothing that's around it. I said, yes, it's Dave and Buster's actually 5 miles up the road. And he tells me his criteria and all the things he was looking for. Long story short is that I walked away brokenhearted because this developer knew his stuff. And within two seconds or 5 seconds, whatever it was, seemed like it was a lifetime to me, but it was really quick. He did the math, he looked at the square footage, and he looked at what was around it, and he says, no, I don't think we can do that.
Oh.
Within just in a matter of seconds. But I walked away. But I walked away understanding that in order to attract investors like this, number one, you got to know what you're talking about. Number two, you got to do your homework on the market to make sure the market is there, and you got to sell them on it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give you anything just because you got a parcel of land. I was always told that a parcel of land is nothing but dirt until you put something on it. It's not worth anything until you build anything on it, unless it's a cemetery. So,
True.
yeah, so
That's
that was
nice.
my little.
I wanted to. I mean, you already spoke about it, but that it was one of my questions that I wanted to ask you is about like continued education, because I mean we met at FIU Masters in Real Estate. So for you, I guess it's really important to continue educating yourself, continue learning, to be able to gather all the information and apply it in the field. I know there's other people that believe in like just do your thing, work in the field or work at your job, and this will teach you more than anything else. Which maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I also believe that it's important to learn outside of what you're doing, to be able to bring new information to the job site and bring a more open mind. So I guess you would agree with that, or
Yeah, I think you should get involved. You should get involved outside of real estate development, because you'll be surprised. Everything I've learned inside of real estate development, I actually learned outside of real estate development. So you talk about multifamily. Me and my wife, we live in multifamily.
Right.
So you learn how to build it by living in it.
yeah,
You know what you need. You know what I know what she likes.
real estate is everywhere. So at the
Real
end of the
estate is
day-
everywhere. I like to shop at Aventura Mall. I know what is convenient to me at that mall, and I know what sucks at that mall.
Yeah. So you know what to do if you were
yeah.
to build a mall, right?
Absolutely, I know what to do. They are now starting to implement things at that mall that I have thought about.
Nice.
Why? Because I've lived in that neighborhood for almost 20 years, and I've seen it go from just a dormant market to a bustling market. Now we have a Bright Line stop. We have multifamily apartments being built on just to the west of the Bright Line, and that city is, man, I've been, like I said, 20 years, and it is grown in leaps and bounds now.
I know, yeah. Like most of cities in around South Florida. Yeah, do you have any other questions before we hop into this project?
I had the last question is an advice for a developer, you with a lot of experience. What would you recommend if someone like to fix the price of construction? Do you think it's better to fix yourself a price per square foot and then try to negotiate with subcontractors, materials and everything to get to this price, or before make a big study of what is going to cost you exactly and then get the price per square foot? Like, I know that there are two strategies. What is your...
My strategy, I know exactly what you're saying. My strategy would be the latter. I think
Would be what?
The latter. I think what you do is you build it, you figure out what it's going to really cost you, right? That's a smart thing to do. I believe that you have to, as developers, know construction costs and know constructability, how to really build it. What is it going to cost you to build, and how long it's truly going to take you to build it? I'll give you an example without naming project and naming exact situation. So you're building a project, or you want to build a project, you develop it, you hand it over to a structural engineer. Structural engineer takes a look at the plans and says, hey, okay, you can build that, but in order to build it, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. In order to do X, Y, and Z in building this building, X will take you 180 days before you can strip your formwork and move over to the next section and build that section, and that takes another 100. That takes 60 days before you can strip the section of that before you can build the next one. Now, I can't give you all the details, but I want you to just kind of follow where I'm going.
Timing is very important.
On paper, the architect drew it, you got your development permit, and now it's time to build it. The part of this whole process that never gets is least talked about, is how do you get it built. Developer says, I need to build this in 3 years, and this is what the performer says, and this is what my returns are going to be, and this is my profit margin is going to be. Contractor gets it and says, hey, I'm sorry, but the way it's designed, it'll take me 4 years. Well, why it's going to take me 4 years? Because look at how this is what the structural engineer says, is that I can't start going vertical until this section is here before I can start bringing this up. That's a huge financial risk. That's a huge financial cash outlay for someone.
Yeah.
The interest carry cost on that has got to be astronomical. I've seen that happen before. We were doing a 59-story high-rise in Edgewater, and they didn't want us to tie in the podium until the vertical building, the tower, settled. And we had multiple readings, and the readings were showing that the building was not going to settle the 4 inches that they had determined. The building, we were almost at the 30 or 40th level, and the building hadn't settled more than 2 inches.
Oh.
And they wanted us to wait and wait.
It was going to take years.
That means that the project was killing our connection for the podium. So,
Yeah.
So I think that you have to get into the weeds. You have to ask the hard questions. Many developers don't want to hear the technical stuff, but the technical stuff, if you don't get into it, you'll pay for it later.
Yeah.
So.
Good. And I got one last question. Like compared to other countries I've visited and had a look of to real estate, here I always have the feeling that the construction is going so slow.
Mm-hmm.
Like progress are, let's say, slow. You being every day on site, do you have the same feeling?
That the projects go slow?
That the construction,
Compared to other countries that you've been or other places that you've been, do you think it's particularly slow here, or is it like maybe a?
I'll give you an example. I'm not haven't built international, but I have been with a large GC who undertook a project in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas. Projects last a little bit longer, I think, internationally, because the laws are a lot different. The labor is a lot different. The skill of the labor market is a lot different. We're very blessed in this country to have very skilled contractors. If you look at a lot of these projects that are being built in the Middle East and abroad, they may use the labor of those countries, but look at the names of the contractors that are running those projects. A lot of them are companies like Turner, big American companies that are building because we have the skill, we have the know-how, and so forth. So not to say that those countries don't, but we've done the complex projects, and they look for that management skill coming out of the U.S. So that's been something that I've experienced since I was a kid. Ever since I was a kid, we had a company called Bill Harbert International, and he built projects all over the world, in Saudi Arabia. And I was a kid, and that was like, those are our idols when we were kids. Russ International, all these big companies that were building all over the world. But I do think that projects are pretty much the same as far as start to finish, but I do believe it's tougher to build in some of these other countries because a lot of times maybe it's a language barrier, but more importantly is I think it's the codes and the laws that you have to get around.
So let's get into your project here.
The second part of the video.
Yeah, the second part, we're gonna go now to show everybody the job site itself. I think you're in the foundations part. You're ready to put the piles up. You have the first columns.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the project again?
Kasa Sweetwater.
Kasa Sweetwater. So what is it? It's a
student housing.
It's a student housing.
Housing
for FIU students. That's the goal.
Yes, the goal is to build it for the students at FIU. We roughly have about 250 doors that will house about 820 beds, so 820 students.
Right.
Building itself is about 20-story building, roughly about 700,000 square feet. I think roughly about 300 or 400 parking spaces. A huge roughly about an 18,000 square foot dedicated amenity level. So while this is a it's all multifamily, but while it's a student housing project, it's really set up like a very, very high-end multifamily, market rate multifamily building. So the architect has done a very good job, beautiful building, beautiful finishes. And to me, it's going to be an icon for the city.
Yeah, and it's like a couple streets away from FIU, right?
Yes.
FIU is booming, is growing a lot, the campus.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Should we go outside and take a look at it?
Absolutely.
You
Let's
tell us
go.
about it?
Let's go.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for the first part
You're
of the
welcome.
video.
Awesome.
Welcome.
P&L Podcast.
The business behind the headlines.